Hi, I'm Emmanuel Anthony, human behavioral expert. I've been blessed to work with hundreds of clients nationally and internationally and assist them to acquire amazing and inspiring results within their lives. Today's YouTube topic, there are 7 days in a week, some days and one of them is one that's truly meaningful and important to me. I've almost died 8 times throughout my life, and one of the things that's done is brought into the realization of how short life is in this mortal body. And that if we want to do something amazing and inspiring and be able to look back throughout our lives and reflect on it and say, wow, that was an amazing journey, then it's going to take small action steps every single day. And one of my mentors put it simply by saying, by the inch, it's a cinch. So really figuring out what inspires you, what you love doing, and taking small baby steps on a daily basis towards achieving and acquiring the inspiring results that you desire within your life. Time is something that I found in my life I really wanted to understand. Where did it come from? I grew up in a household where I was constantly told what to do and how to do things, and I believe I was no different from anybody else, but the way that I interpreted that may have been different to how other people took that. I felt that there were too many stringent rules and there wasn't enough space for me to go out and investigate and learn the things that would allow me to answer some of the questions in life. So I've been inspired by questioning life and looking at the theories of why we do exactly what it is that we do. And one of the aspects that came to mind when I was looking at my life was time. After almost dying a few times within my life, and especially 2 instances where they say that just before you die, you reflect back on your life and you actually see the whole thing in front of you. And I've had that occur twice. And I found that both times when that occurred, there were 2 things that were there. I just wanted to take the people that I loved and tell them that I loved them and give them a hug one more time. And I wanted to look at my life and just say, wow. And certain elements of me also thought, if I could redo it again, I would wake up every day with inspiration and I would do anything that I could to live an inspiring life. So it was that idea that some of the things that I looked at in the past that I thought were extreme trials or tribulations or things outside of me that stopped me from having an amazing life, really they didn't stop me at all, but it was my perceptions of them that had stopped me from creating an amazing and inspiring life. I had been surviving in certain areas instead of thriving, and I really believe that we're here to thrive, not survive. Working with as many clients as I have, you start to put or join some dots together. And some dots that I've joined together are that every human being has a unique and different set of values. And I've been working with Dr. John Demartini and the Demartini Institute for over 3 to 4 years now. And when I discovered human values, it was an amazing discovery for me. The idea that we are neurologically programmed and can gain energy and vitality in certain areas of our life. And we have other areas where we procrastinate, hesitate, frustrate. And if I ask you to do something, 5 minutes can feel like 5 hours. But on the opposite spectrum, I can give you another task to do and 5 hours can feel like 5 minutes. So I've been investigating and researching with hundreds of clients to find out what would increase their levels of energy and vitality. Where were they most organized, disciplined, reliable, and focused? Where did they set goals with intention and attention and feel that they were driven and alive? And the discovery of the values and the discovery of Dr. John Demartini's application of the values is something that has just become part of every single program that I run and teach now. And it's beautiful to know that you and every human being on planet Earth has a unique and different set of values. When you align with what's truly most valuable and important to you, the word important meaning that you want to import into your mind and import into your sphere of awareness, and valuable to you meaning that you have value for that. When you align with what's most valuable to you, whether that's a sports star or a lecturer or a person that drives a bus or a lawyer, whatever it is, doesn't matter. But when you align what's most valuable to you and you start to manage all 7 areas of your life and pick outcomes and goals that are inspiring in all 7 areas, life works for you instead of against you. But when you do the complementary opposite, I know in my life, when I've worked job to job in places just to make money, but it didn't inspire me, No matter how much I tried, I could never ever get to a certain point. I tried to do what I love and love what I did, but I found that I was constantly procrastinating, constantly hesitating, said I would do things but I wouldn't, low on energy and low on vitality. And I even feel that's why we're here. So I mentioned a little earlier that I'd almost died 8 times within my life. And although to some people this would be seen as an extreme stressing, I know within my life, I've noticed that it's not what happens outside of me, but my perceptions of what occurs outside of me that really dictates and determines my destiny. And I define my destiny as a destination in space and time. And I believe we all have a destination, an area that we're moving towards with certain goals and outcomes. And I've worked with hundreds of clients and seen amazing and inspired parents that are moving in a direction in the future of raising beautiful children, and that's what they're dedicated to. That's where they're most organized, that's where they're disciplined, that's what they're thinking about, that's what they're talking about, that's where they set goals towards. I've worked with inspiring directors that had company visions, and that's where they were setting their goals and intentions and attention. So from almost dying 8 times, I realized that we reflect back on our lives and we can have regret. And our regret comes from perceiving that moments within our past had more drawbacks and benefits, pain than pleasure, disservice than service. Or if we had altered that and done something else, which we perceived was more valuable, we would have had more benefits and drawbacks, and our life would have been more pleasurable than painful. And I realized that I didn't want to live within that paradox, because in order to have that paradox, I would have to sacrifice the here and now, constantly going back to a moment in space and time in my perceptions that had already passed. But I was sacrificing the here and now, trying to alter something that could not be altered. So I really wanted to discover a set of tools and resources that would allow me at any moment in my life to reflect back and say, thank you and I love you for all aspects of my life. You know, we spend so much time watching Hollywood actors and big screen movies. I don't know about you, but I like to watch at least 1 or 2 movies per week. I'm interested in the art of cinematography. And I noticed that we'll look at these stories on the big screen and we'll go, wow, what an inspiring story that person's been through, what a life. And sometimes we forget that they're just like us. And those stories with a little bit of a Hollywood touch and a little bit of heroism, if you want to call it that, they could just be a regular person's life that's had a certain amount of light and starism added to it. So your life is a Hollywood story. And I don't know about you, but I want to be able to look back at all elements of my life and say thank you and I love you, and realize that no matter what I did or didn't do, I was worthy of love. And no matter what those around me did or didn't do, they were also worthy of love too. So I found having a clear mind and learning to master your perceptions and learning how to create an amount of balance of your psychology and physiology, either by learning about the central nervous system and the chemical and hormone responses of the autonomic nervous system and how the body-mind connection works, or learning tools and resources that would allow me to empower my mind and my body and take control of my perceptions, that became something that was truly valuable to me. And if you want to take daily action steps today, not next week, next month, or next year, because we can quite often say to ourselves, I'll do that tomorrow, only to not realize what's actually occurring inside of us. Our neurology are messenger signals. And when we say I'll do that tomorrow, we actually promote the same pathways to what we just had that was not leading us in the direction of what we wanted. So if you're constantly telling yourself, I'll do it tomorrow, you're actually programming that into your body. Whereas every single time that I set a goal and I really want to achieve that goal, I will start and take a little step there and then to make sure that I'm taking baby steps towards that goal. Because I may not always be able to do everything in reference to that goal on that day. But if I say I'm going to start eating healthier, from the minute I set that goal, I start making healthy choices, and I'll put things in my calendar within the next 24 or 48 hours that actually require me to take mass action in that goal. And I'm changing the neurological connections. You have a central nervous system, which is the brain, and that fires off signals to the rest of the body. That's why what you think, you feel. And during this pathway, it's said that what fires together, wires together. In other words, pathways that are constantly firing neurologically connect, and it becomes easier for you to access that information. Well, if I have certain goals and outcomes, and I want to change the way that I'm thinking or feeling so I can have an inspiring life, where I've got certain habits that I realize aren't getting me there as fast as I would like, then I want to make sure that I take these two connections and I do something about that. So I will make sure that it's in a calendar. I believe that if we just put something or collect it as a thought, we have over a couple of 100,000 thoughts from my last research that actually transition through our mind, and we'll forget it. And it may pop in later, or a couple of days or weeks, or it could be a year later. So if it's really that important, I want to capture it straight away. I want to put it into a calendar, which means that it now has a space and time horizon that I'm dedicating and I'm connected to that. And then it's out of sight, out of mind. I know I've taken an action step and I continue to take little baby action steps, remember by the inch it's a cinch, towards acquiring my inspiring goal. And I know that I don't have to do big steps. I'm glad when I do, but I just have to take real small baby action steps and build up my confidence and my certainty and my self-worth along the process. And before I know it, I'll look back at what I've been able to achieve, or someone will say to me, wow, how did you achieve that? And I wouldn't really have realized how I got there because I was so busy focusing on those little baby action steps, and that's what got me there in the end. So one of the blessings of working with hundreds of clients throughout the years is the ability to connect the dots, as I had mentioned earlier. But it's not just connecting the dots, it's seeing certain circumstances and situations and events that people have gone through within their lives and learning from some of the lessons that they went through without necessarily having to have to go through them myself. So I'll share some of those with you. One of them is when I've seen clients that have been majorly, managing one area or multiple areas of their life. And I like to look at life in terms of 7 areas: physical, financial, mental, spiritual, social, vocation, and family. And you may break it up into 6 or 8 or 10, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with for yourself. But I break it up into 7, because if you ask me, Emmanuel, what are your goals for life? I'd almost be baffled, because I'd be trying to take this big thing and figure out how in the world I could set goals that would satisfy every part of life. But instead, if I break it into 7 areas, I get small bite-sized chunks that I could definitely say when I put them together, they equal up my life. So if I look at those 7 areas, if I was to take some of my clients, remember I met a client, he said, my brother's going to hospital. He's an amazing genius when it comes to finances. He's absolutely amazing when it comes to vocation and career, but he never has looked after his health or his mental health and his emotions, and now he's paying for it. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this human being has mastered maybe 2 of the 5 areas, or 2 of the 7, and neglected 5, and now some of those 5 are coming back. Or if a gentleman is highly into business but not looking after his relationship or not looking after his family life, then he can lose the connection there. And if a family member is to pass away, you feel like, wow, regret. I really felt like I could have spent more time with that person. So I wanted to make sure that I learned through these lessons. In fact, at the higher end of my programs and my clients, we start off with the foundations at level 1 of my programs, and it's about dissolving emotional imbalances, learning about themselves, learning about the mind and the body and physiology, psychology, biology, getting a fundamental understanding, applying those tools and getting results within their lives. Then I created a level 2 program after I learned how to actually work through aspects of my life. See, one of the things that I really felt that was important, I didn't want to take on a form of consulting or therapy where I had more issues than my clients did. I'm not saying my clients have got a lot of issues, but I didn't want to sit there and baffle in their challenges and feel like I was in the same place. I wanted to make sure that whatever I was teaching my clients or teaching you were applicable tools that when applied, they would create results. I'm very results driven. And it's because I feel that we only have a short period of time on this planet, and we want to make sure that we're acquiring the results in the areas that are meaningful and valuable to us, whether that's an amazing connected relationship with your loved one or a partner, or acquiring amazing business mastery if that's what inspires you, or having a beautiful body, or having a multitude of all of these. But whatever it was, I wanted to make sure that I could apply all of those principles. So I created a level 2 that was teaching clients at any level how to be able to acquire that. And for me, that's quite fulfilling, because the idea that I can have a client come in with 10 years of depression and transition to a certain level within work with myself, where they're then learning how to handle things themselves and they're no longer experiencing those emotions, it's quite a beautiful thing to be able to share an experience in terms of a memory and an experience and a service. But at the level 3 of my program, we actually look at all 7 areas of life, and we aim to look at the highest levels of fulfillment. To me, the word fulfillment means to feel full. So the more areas of life that we have that feel full, the greater the level of fulfillment that we experience in life. If I said to you, you were extremely beautiful externally, but mentally you weren't that strong, and you had disease and disorder, and you were about to end up in a psychiatric ward because you didn't know how to manage your emotions and felt that they were running you. You had lost all your friends, your family weren't really connected with you financially, you're losing a lot of money. Every time I take away another area, if you only had one, you go, what's the point of beauty? But if I said to you, you've got internal and external beauty. Outside, you look absolutely amazing. Internally, you've got energy and vitality. and you have a wealth that is continuing to grow on a stable basis. You have amazing staff members and a social network where people truly feel connected and appreciative to you. You mentally have a genius, and every day you feel you're pushing your boundaries in all areas and feeling truly appreciated and loving what you do. And you have a family network that loves and cares for you. You may notice there's a different association in the way that you feel, especially if those things are valuable to you, because there's more of the 7 areas. And the more areas that we have that are full, the more fulfilled that we actually experience within our life, within our psychology, the way that we think, and within our physiology, the way that we feel. Now, one of the reasons that I created the level 2 of my program, which is what I mentioned earlier when working with clients, which was teaching them how to have applicable tools to be able to transition forward, was because I could relate it back to me. And I see my clients and I see you guys as a reflection of me. And I have a feeling that you don't want to be stuck within the same challenges for weeks, months, or years, or decades of your life. That you want to be inspired to take on challenges, because no matter what we do in life, in all areas, we're going to have support and challenge. And the greater we grow our level of mastery and leadership, the greater the support and challenge. So I personally believe that we want to have the greatest tools and resources so that we actually know that we can take on those challenges. So we look forward to taking on bigger challenges, and we appreciate the journey, and we don't feel stagnant. I mean, I know clients that I worked with, one gentleman who I mentioned earlier, and he had 10 years of depression after a breakup and felt that he couldn't really move forward from that. And we worked through that in a short period of time. When we were done, he hugged me and said, "I've just got my life back. I can't believe I haven't experienced depression for a couple of weeks now. I feel like the old me again. In fact, I feel better." And it was amazing to see that. And I noticed that he didn't want to be stagnant. And sometimes when we don't take actions today, it's because we have emotional stuff, or we have mental stuff, or emotions that are running as anger, fear, sadness, hurt, guilt, etc., instead of being love and being grateful and going out and sharing our mission. And we play a small game and internalize instead of going out and sharing our inspired mission. And I like to think of inspiration as spirit from within. So instead of sharing our spirit from within and sharing our mission on planet Earth, we play a small game and hide it. Instead of entrepreneurs, become intrapreneurs. And I don't believe that's what you're here to do. I have a feeling that you and everybody that you love is here to do something amazing on this earth. And imagine if Muhammad Ali or Will Smith or Oprah Winfrey or anybody that's done something amazing in this world stopped doing that or didn't do it at all. What would this world be like? Well, you are somebody that has that inside of you, because every human being has every human trait and it has every single human part, but it's what we give ourselves permission to do. And some people in this world are giving themselves permission to do more. So when you take those little action steps every single day and you accumulate them over your lifetime, you're changing the act of someday and actually giving your goals and the things that inspire you time, space, horizons to make them a reality within your life. When I was a teenager, one of the things that you could not get me to do, no matter how much you tried, was use a calendar. I felt that I was spontaneous and calendars held me down. And I didn't want to place things in because I felt I just wasn't going to do it anyway. I like to rebel and do my own thing. After my 20s, I also realized that I was missing out on a lot of things because I would want to go and achieve certain goals, and then 6 months later, I'd go, whatever happened to that goal? And once again, it was what I was saying. You have so many thoughts, a couple 100,000 transitioning through your mind, that to think that you're just going to remember something, or 50 different aspects that are important to you or have some level of importance, is not going to happen. So I started writing things down in a diary. And as I started to write them down, I noticed I acquired and I achieved more things. And I noticed some things I didn't achieve, things that were lower in my values, I didn't appreciate, didn't like, that I felt that I had to do, usually by outer authorities. And then there were certain things that I loved and I appreciated, and I was doing really well then. In fact, I noticed this at uni. I originally studied graphic design before I moved into human development and evolution. And I remember I had one lecturer for 2 different subjects. And one of them was print and design, and I loved the idea of creating magazines and things like that at the time. And the other one was infographics, which funnily enough I love now, but at the time I just saw no value in it because I wanted to go out and do magazines and high-end magazines and fashion and things like that at the time. So he pulled me up about halfway during the semester and he said, "I really don't understand what's going on with you, Emmanuel." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "One of my classes, you never rock up, you don't do the work. When you actually do, you're barely passing in it. So I'd be inclined to think that you were a student that didn't care about graphic design, but then I have another class where you continually pop in, you do 3 times more work than any other student, you're highly organized and disciplined. I'm having trouble putting you in a box right now. And I looked at him, and at the time I didn't understand values and the effect on neurology and human behavior, but I just knew that I liked certain things and I didn't like others. So to measure your goals, I believe it's wise to have a calendar. I love a digital calendar because it means all of my different devices communicate and talk to each other. Whether it's my iPhone or my iPad or my laptop or desktop, all of those different aspects are communicating with each other. So I know that I can go back to either one of those goals and I can have all of my notes there. The other thing is I like to be extremely busy. I believe that after almost dying 8 times, I actually book out a whole 24-hour day, and I aim to do that at least 1 week in advance. And I select a whole range of things that inspire me in all 7 areas. Workouts that I can't wait to do, clients that I can't wait to serve, projects that I can't wait to work on. And as I'm working on all of these, if I don't give them a specific time allocation, that won't get done. But if I give them a time allocation and during that time I just put all of my energy and attention and focus into those tasks, then I find that they get done. So if you have things that are truly inspiring to you and you're looking to acquire them today, not someday, it's going to be wise for you to find some kind of measurement system, whether you like writing things down on paper or digitally putting them into a calendar. But some kind of system that allows you to make sure that you're measuring your results and keeping track of them. Because if they're meaningful, then you'll go out and acquire and achieve them. One of the most amazing things that I've been able to learn is to understand the body and the mind connection. And to understand that the body actually communicates to us, but in a way that we may not have been taught through our formal education. I remember when I first discovered my values and where I am most organized, disciplined, reliable, and focused, and saw that I could do that for hours and I'd have energy and vitality, and saw where my values were not as inclined to have that energy and vitality and I procrastinate and hesitate. It was interesting to realize that my body was giving me feedback, and when I did what I love, it would increase my energy and give me an opportunity to grow and expand, and I'd remember things and be able to recite them. So in primary school, I loved playing basketball, and I could tell you anything about any of the basketball players, and I could play for hours on end. When I was in that same period, mathematics was something that I didn't appreciate. So if you ask me about maths, I procrastinate, hesitate, frustrate. No matter what I did, I couldn't find the answers. It just wasn't valuable to me. And I may have been judged as a child by adults, because when you're a child, that sometimes gets imposed onto you by adults out of them wanting to feel that whatever they're giving to you is wise. But it just wasn't me. I didn't feel it was me. I had no value for that. See, now as an adult, if that was the case, people would just say, Emmanuel's not really into that. It's not his thing. And it would be perfectly fine. But the realization that my body was giving me feedback, and if I listened to that, I could actually acquire my inspired destiny and allocate that and really hone in my skills and tools into that area. So I believe that we experience dis-ease, the body not being at ease, and disorder, the body not being in order, and our emotions are feedbacks quite often to let us know where we're imbalanced in our perceptions, so we can regain balance in those perceptions and realign with what's most inspiring to us. I really truly believe, after working with hundreds of clients and seeing them take their perceived stressings and master their perceptions and turn that around into inspired blessings, that they've been able to see what happened to them and actually change their perceptions of that and then grow and evolve from it. And I believe when we can take everything around us and use that as fuel for fire, life happens for us instead of to us. And with that kind of mindset, we can really transition and move forward. When you study the greats and have a look at Nelson Mandela and what he went through, it could have been easy for him to say, that's it, I give up, screw this. But he didn't. Instead of saying, this is what's happening to me, he looked at that and said, what's my perception of what's occurring and how do I want to control that? He wouldn't have said it in those words, but he utilized that experience and his perceptions altered the way that he felt about it and what he was going to do about it. And it's not just the greats that have the opportunity to do that, because I believe we all have some greatness inside of us. We all have that opportunity. But it really takes everything that we have. It's going to take the highest amount of emotional control and balance and mental understanding of ourselves and the universe. But I guarantee you, when I see clients acquire and achieve that on a daily basis, it's a beautiful thing. And they awaken their inner leader and spontaneously start to go out and acquire and achieve results. So part of going out and acquiring results is most certainly learning how to balance your mind and how to bring balance and poise to the body so that you can transition forward faster and faster. Building tools of resilience. There's another way of saying it. Well, when I was younger, I used to feel that there was a lot of people attacking me or haters. And as I grew up, I noticed that as I studied the laws of the universe is actually made out of electrons and protons, and there's a negative and a positive charge, and we can never delete either one of those. So believing that somehow some aspect in the universe is going to have more positive than negative, good than bad, right than wrong, I continually set myself up. When I met women that I was really interested in, and I exaggerated and made them all good, never bad, all right, never wrong, all beautiful, never ugly, and just put them on a pedestal, I would usually set them up and myself, because as I started to date them, I realized that this imaginary figure in my head and the person that I had in front of me were usually two different things. And when I did that to jobs, and I made the jobs all good, never bad, all right, never wrong, all positive, never negative, I found out that there were certain responsibilities and things that I hadn't accounted for within that job. And family members were the same, as well as friends and etc. And quite often it was only my perceptions that were putting the labels of positive and negative as well. So after a while of constantly feeling let down and learning about the universe, I realized that to try and delete one side of the universe, positive and negative, was futile. And every time I tried to delete one, I spent more time in bipolar style reactions, addicted to monopoles, either addicted to straight positive thinking or straight negative thinking. But neither of those were correct. They were just a perception on what actually had two sides. So I then learned that my greatest resilience level actually came from taking my perceived positives and seeing the negatives until I was balanced and didn't put it on a pedestal, and taking my perceived negatives and seeing the benefits and the services of those so I could use those as fuel for fire. And in that state, I increased my resilience, increased my balance, and I found that I was actually able to take on greater levels of challenge with much greater levels of certainty and appreciation. And when I look forward at those challenges, I wasn't scared of them, because I could see the balance in what was being offered to me, and I could see how I could utilize that circumstance in order to create profound results in my life and for other people. Part of getting what you want and acquiring the goals that you want and getting that today, I believe, comes from the mastery, and I mentioned this earlier, but all 7 areas of your life. So my timetable that I select for my day, my week, my month, and my year, each one of those is targeted around acquiring a little bit of mastery in all areas. So I have 2 different sections for working out in a day that can make up about 2 hours, max between 2 to 3 hours. Then I have a certain period of time for my family and a certain period of time for my girlfriend, and that's my family connection. But then, so I had physical, then family, vocation, which is my career, social, also between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Mental, that's also when I'm working with my clients and pushing myself in areas that I love. But I look, and I won't go into all the areas, but I look at all 7 and I make sure that I chip away a little bit, at least a couple of times a week. But for me, it's really important that I do a little bit every day. And I notice that my highest level of fulfillment occurs when I'm doing that. And when you have balance in all 7 of those, you increase the probability and the possibility of appreciating more areas of your life. Now, when I mention going out and living an inspiring life, sometimes I hear people say to me, I'm not just going to quit my job and go out on a whim. And I go, that would be very unwise. I believe it's much wiser to complete methods like the Values Determination by Dr. John D. Martini, and get very scientific and realistic about what your values are. Not what you may have been told they are or thought they should be based on some religious authority or outside institution or your family or friends, etc. You'll find out what's authentic to you. Quite often, midlife crises can be when people have been living in other people's value systems, and then at the age of 50 realize that they're getting close to death, or they could die sometime soon. Life's really past them, and now they actually want to learn who they authentically are and finally give themselves permission to go out and do what they've been wanting to do all along. I didn't want to do that. I'm only 33, but I don't want to get to 50 and have a midlife crisis. I want to live inspired every single day, so by the time I get to 50, it's just another beautiful and inspiring day on planet Earth. So not only the mastery of all 7 areas in your life is it important, but like I mentioned, taking little baby action steps every day. So if you're in a job that you absolutely love, but it's a job that's helping you acquire finances for what you love, I believe it's wise to invest at least a couple of hours every week, even as small as 2 or 3 hours. Go to a cafe, sit down, have a bite to eat, put your earphones on, and have a water or a latte or whatever it is that you drink. And just start planning out the life that you want and researching what it would take to acquire that outcome, and taking small baby action steps and moving in the direction of that. I know that one of my biggest breakthroughs I had was when I realized this is what I wanted to do in my life. But at the time, I was a graphic designer and I owned a company and I had staff members that were doing certain work for me. But I realized that if I did that, I would have an okay life and make okay money and kind of be okay with my family and my friends and the people I did work with. But I was inspired to go out and talk and communicate and share and be a speaker. And all of these things, I felt alive when I did them, and I felt like I was really living. So I felt it was much wiser for me to pass on my business to somebody that had greater levels of inspiration and could have that energy and vitality on a daily basis with all of the people I would have connected with, and for me to be 100% authentic. And that wasn't going to happen overnight. So I actually started by quitting certain jobs. I was working 3 jobs at the time because I had my company I was building up in graphic design, and then I had a few other jobs. But I left the graphic design. I only worked a certain proportion and kind of weighing that out. And then I just kind of backed off each job as I acquired more finances in the area that I love. So I believe if we methodically plan, anybody can do what they love and love what they do. It may take a certain period of time, a couple of years, etc. But I'd rather live an inspired life where I'm doing what I love, loving what I do, and getting paid handsomely to share that message with an inspired community than just going in every single day and having Monday morning blues, Wednesday hump days, thank God it's Fridays, and the weekend's friggin' over. I don't think we're here to just survive. I really believe you're here to thrive. But if that wasn't the case, you wouldn't experience disease and disorder in your body when you're not doing what you love, and feel absolute gratitude and appreciation and increased resources when you do what you love. I believe that's feedback from the body and the universe to get you in aligned with what's truly most valuable and important in your life and keep you authentic. Thank you very much for connecting. I'm humbled by the opportunity to share this knowledge that I've had the opportunity to connect and share with you some of the wisdom that I've learned from working with the clients that I've been blessed to work with. If you feel that by us connecting, we'd have an opportunity to assist you to acquire some of the goals that are truly important to you, feel free to click like on this video. If you feel others may utilize this information, share it with them so they get an opportunity to hear it as well. And if you'd like to work personally one-on-one with me, go to my website and get in contact with me. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear what it is that you'd like to achieve, and I'd love to be part of that process.